Bomber fans, PlayNow.com reminds you that when you bet on blue, there's only one legal online sportsbook in Manitoba. Only one that guarantees your winnings. Only one where the profits stay here to support your community. Play your Bombers at PlayNow.com, your hometown sportsbook. Enjoy responsibly. And now, on to the show. Welcome to the Handled Internally podcast. I'm Tait from BlueBombers.com. Joined as always by the Blue Bombers Senior Director of Player and Public Relations, Chief Consigliere, and Assistant to the Traveling Secretary, Darren Cameron. And we're pleased to be joined, I think on a semi-regular basis now, by Zach Collaros.
Thanks for having me on,
the
guys.
Quarterback of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, for those of you who haven't been introduced.
Well, I don't think it's semi-regular. I think it's going to be a regular thing.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, until they get
until
you're right, until about the third week when he's like, this. This enough of this. How are you, buddy?
Oh, wait a minute. This could be cool, right?
It could be cool. It's going to be cool. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. First day back, buddy. After the game
My
off
time
there.
away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sabbatical.
You're back practicing, kind of
that's a good word.
Little different last week for you from a practice standpoint.
Yeah, different. Had a good practice today. I sweat today, so it was good to move around a little bit. Yeah, it was last week was different.
In what way?
Practice?
Yeah.
I just did less.
Yeah.
Took less reps, and yeah, it was a lot less fun for sure.
Yeah.
You were talking with the media after the practice today, Zach. I don't know about, maybe take me through last week. I would have been miserable.
Yeah.
Right. How were you handling that? I mean, everybody's so jacked up. First of all, you have a week one bye, and everybody's so jacked up. Home opener. Yeah. Division rival, and you got to sit it out.
Yeah. For the training camp, I kind of just put in the back of my head and try to treat training camp obviously the way that I always have. But yeah, leading up to the game, it started to kind of set in, that I was going to miss the game, in my own head. Try to stay as positive, obviously, as I possibly could, and help the team in any way that I can. The quarterback room, the offensive unit, the defensive guys, because we are playing, in a game we're playing BC, we're playing in a system that I have played in before, so trying to help them as much as I can, and obviously just, be the guy encouraging people. But yeah, the day of the game was not fun for me personally leading up to it. Darren, you made a comment to me afterward, like, you didn't say anything. I was like, yeah, it was
miserable the day of the game.
And then yeah, kind of just the vagueness of what was actually going on during the game. Was I allowed to be on the field? Was I allowed to be in the stadium? They were telling me that I wasn't allowed to be on camera. So I watched the game, the first portion of it in our meeting rooms, just on TV. And I couldn't just sit there. So I started walking around, down here, this little area, and then realized that I could just walk on the treadmill for the entire game and watch in our weight room. And that's what I did. So I was just like a fan.
Don't they give you a list of do's and don'ts or something?
You'd think this. Yeah, it's that situation was kind of a microcosm of the entire situation. So
if they wait a minute now, if you had been in the booth and they had TSN cameras had caught you, that would have been
that's what we were told, is that if I was to be caught on camera there, it would be up to the commissioner's discretion for punishment.
Oh
yeah, I don't know how much more we're going to get into that, but I mean, as of like 3:00 in the afternoon, he was going to go sit up with Wade, and we can wipe this out if you don't want it out there. But it was Zach's the one that kind of said, I don't feel comfortable parading myself sitting up in the owner's box when.
Yeah, I already felt like a distraction as it was, right? So I wanted to be as less of a distraction as possible, as well as like my teammates are out there playing. I didn't want to. Just thought it was a bad message.
So
to kind of send,
like this, we'll close this off. That side of it with this, but this has gone on since February 26th or 27th,
something like that. Yeah,
February 27th, I think. So, and then for a long time, you weren't sure what's going on, and then we knew that you were missing a game.
Yeah.
And then once it all kind of came out, you kind of, maybe a bit of a relief off your shoulders. But heading into the game, it was kind of back to.
Yeah. That's a good point. Like, once we made the decision to go the way that we were going to go and not do the arbitrations, it did feel like there was a big, weight lifted off my shoulder. But as we got closer to the game, I think like just the realization of the situation set in.
Yeah.
Like it was pretty easy after we made the decision just to get it out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. yeah.
So what was the dynamic like watching the game? I mean, from like you're obviously there's no one in there, and then Brady comes in.
Yeah.
But like you're alone, and that's got to be one of the maybe the first time, or maybe when you hurt your ACL. Or
yeah, in Hamilton. But I was allowed obviously back out in the field, so I was out on the field in crutches
right away.
Crutches, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just different. It was hard. It really was, and I'd planned on actually going home and just watching it with my family. But like just being in the locker room for the lead up to the game, kind of felt like I was getting ready to go. And then watching on TV is like, okay, I want to, just be around the guys when they come back in, just to be that person encouraging them. And I did sneak out prior to the end there, try to beat traffic. I didn't beat traffic.
No,
I sat in traffic.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny. I was walking through the stadium like with a cell phone like this, and people were handing me bags of chips on the way out. So I should sit in the parking lot eating chips. Trying to get out. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I mean that happens. We I drove him home a couple years ago, and after a game, we can wipe this out too if we don't want this in there. But I drove him home from a game a couple years back. It was probably like 1 a.m. and we stopped at the Arches for a burger.
McDonald's.
And we're sitting
Just a burger.
Just a burger. There wasn't much else, and not like a $50 order like that. And
you get there pretty quick in this province.
Yeah, you get
$50.
It goes quick.
It's not like the U.S.
so we're parked waiting for the food, and a car pulls up beside us because they park and make you wait in the parking lots there. And this the windows are down. It's like July. He's sitting in the passenger seat, and there's guys in the car beside us, all bomber jerseys on and everything, and they're like, "Hey guys, did you guys go to the game tonight?" And without hesitation, he's had a few beers. He just throw for 400 yards, and he says, "Yeah, I was at the game. And the guy's like, "Oh, cool. Yeah, so was I. Great game. Yeah, what a win." No clue who they were talking to. To this day, they still don't know who they were talking to. But
they had a few more beers than I did.
Yeah. You might have had a few. They might have been in the double digits. So.
And what was your order?
I don't remember.
Oh, I would know. Pretty standard order. The wife and I don't know what you ordered. But I could have a good. Well,
we don't need to go down this road. I don't
have a good guess.
Yeah. What are you doing?
I'm a double quarter pounder with cheese guy, as a starter.
Yeah.
Medium or large fry, depending on how frisky I'm feeling.
Frisky,
chase that with a 10-piece nugget.
Yeah. This is true.
Do I get a Coke Zero? Or do I just go full throttle with a Coca-Cola? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get these.
I with Stan or not? Do I get a what's a McFlurry? A McFlurry?
A McFlurry, yeah, from McDonald's. Yeah. This is how he does it, and then it'll be like 1 a.m. later than that. Usually 3 a.m. He sends us all a picture of his massive McDonald's order, and then the next morning it's like 8 a.m., 7 a.m. Fuck, I'm going to the gym. I hate myself. It never fails. So
I have a little mini rant about McDonald's.
All right.
The 10-piece McNuggets, they don't have the hot mustard anymore. Dipping sauce.
Really?
No. It's brutal.
Well, come on.
So
really? I don't think the standard thing is they give you the hot mustard. They don't give you an option for barbecue.
They don't have hot mustard anymore.
Why?
Took it off the menu.
Wow. Recall?
It's disappointing.
Yeah. So now where are you going?
Do you go barbecue?
Oh, there's lots of other options, Darren.
Yeah, sure.
There's a lot. Just drive up and down Pembina.
Sure.
You can get the ranch and you can mix it with like a ketchup. That was something I learned in middle school. I've never forgot. It's very tasty. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, moving on. So game was Thursday. So what did you what were you up to this weekend, man? You did some. You mentioned you were told that your Joey's. You were.
Yeah, my mother-in-law was in town, so my family just came out a week ago. Nicole and the kids. Yeah. So we're in a new spot, getting all moved in. My mother-in-law helped us tremendously, as she always does, flying the kids out and getting us all moved in. So yeah, I took her to Joey's, kind of as a thank you. Ran into Mr. Wade Miller there.
Oh, did you?
Melissa and his father-in-law. Yeah, Melissa's dad.
Nice.
And my wife wanted to try Wasabi. It's a sushi place around town. The next day, we couldn't get in, so asked Wade if he could pull some strings, but it was closed. So Wade made a reservation for us at 529. So that was the next day. Nicole and I, first time away from the kids like that in a while, since a trip that we took. And 529, quite the establishment over there.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah.
Can you get McNuggets there?
They thought it was our anniversary, and it wasn't. So we played that for a little bit.
Sure.
And
Perfect.
they came back later and they're like, it's not your anniversary. I'm like, no, we'll take the champagne.
Right. Good.
No,
You can't get McNuggets there? Or
no
nuggets?
nuggets. No,
Oh.
I wouldn't have put it past Nicole and I to stop for nuggets on the way home though.
It's weird they have salads and things like that too, buddy. I think you're
Oh,
not
I could eat a
interested.
salad.
You could.
don't.
You
That was
could.
my first time over there though. It was beautiful building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is very nice. It's very nice. Anyway, so getting into this week, we're actually back to football where people haven't turned it off yet, maybe, but
I like the food talk, but keep going if you want to switch it up.
so
go
we're
ahead.
back. So a little bit of a different week for us. We're talking to Chris K about this from a scheduling standpoint. So we're day 1 practice today, 2 tomorrow, 3 Wednesday, and then an off day. Off day meaning no practice. Generally, it's 3 straight days and then a travel day and then game. So you kind of get an extra day of
Different
prep there. So how do you kind of approach that?
Yeah, we did it a couple times last season. Yeah. It is different though. Like my entire career dating back to high school and college, it was always just 3 on day before and then you're going. So I liked it last year. I definitely think you obviously feel a little more fresh going into the game with that extra day off. I think it takes some trust, from the staff to the players of making sure that you stay locked into the game plan. So that's important for us. The veterans on the team to make sure that we're, embarking on our embarking on our.
I don't know. Ed would
Cut
know
this
that
out,
better
yeah.
than me.
What?
Imparting your what?
Wisdom.
Wisdom.
No, like imparting.
Imparting, yeah. Would
Yes.
Be, yeah.
What was embarking would be like
going somewhere.
sure.
Yeah.
Imparting that we should be staying in our books and studying.
Okay. Yeah.
Cut that
Imploring.
out. Imploring.
Maybe insisting.
Insisting.
Holy fuck! Now no one's listening.
We'll cut that all out.
No, they're listening for sure. This is the Thesaurus segment.
Yeah.
I can't even talk.
And then
Thesaurus
so
segment.
yeah,
you
so
got to stay involved with that extra day off. Like I'm
Yeah.
a big trust issue guy, so you got to make sure that the young guys are staying in the game plan and not losing it for that extra 24
and then you're
hours.
doing a lot of massage with all that other shit.
that kind of stuff. Yeah,
on
People
that
still
day.
come in on that day then?
yeah,
Yeah,
People
yeah.
come in.
You got your feet kicked up. No, everyone's down
I got to
here.
make up my shit in my little office there. man.
Oh, okay.
You do have a sweet office. I love that
Yeah,
office.
yeah.
So
So
you
you're
like
doing
good office?
not really. No.
Really?
It's a little.
It reminds me of like high school coach.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
get
there's
this-
just a lot of shit laying
You got a
around.
lot of great stuff in there.
Yeah.
That's where we should do this podcast from.
No, they got this whole thing set up, buddy.
This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So you're doing massage and chiro and all that stuff on kind of the off day, and then Friday we
Friday
Go
we
and
hit
do
up
a-
Joe Fortes.
is that what you're doing?
Yeah,
So what's
get-
I mean you
get a
you're
little
you,
taster, get some
Chris
little-
K was on here
get
after
some
the
salmon sashimi.
yeah.
and
So
first.
Chris K was on here after the game, and was kind of telling everybody that you eat like 6 meals in a span of like
Who, me?
yeah.
Chris eats like 6 meals.
Of
a
course he
typical
does.
day.
right.
When in Vancouver, you gotta
Yeah.
eat the sushi.
Yeah.
You got it. So yeah, I try to have a little bit of the salmon and the tuna, all the fresh stuff, and then go with the O line usually, and whoever else wants to tag along to Joe Fortes.
Mm.
That's typically our thing. Is that what it's called, Joe Fortes?
Joe Fortes, yeah. Of course, you got to go to Fortes.
Where do you guys eat in Vancouver? Where do you guys go?
So we go to me and Matt and Al and Brad go to Fortes.
What about Ed?
Ed, he does. Who knows what Ed does? He does
What do you
his own
got
thing
going
with this old.
Probably a nice
there.
jazz bar out there.
No,
Light a cigar.
if there was a cool blues bar, I used to go to the Yale. It was a good
Oh,
live
yeah.
music. Yeah, really good.
Like when you say blues, what do you listen to? Like if you had to put something on right now,
Well,
like B.E. King, like that kind of
B.B.
stuff.
King,
Yeah.
Stevie Ray Vaughan,
Okay.
Buddy Guy, maybe.
So we
Beat-
we would get along. Yeah, we've shared music together.
So what?
Yeah.
But what are you eating?
Well, the last year, where did we go last year? We've gone a couple times to that Steamworks.
Yeah.
And what?
Yeah.
They have beer and they had fish and chips and
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not the steak or the high end falutin stuff.
That
you-
place next to the hotel at the Grey Cup was good. That little boat.
Yes, you and I went there after practice
Yeah,
one
that
day.
was good. You went fishing
The,
chips.
uh,
It was outstanding.
Oh yeah, Carderos.
Carderos. Yeah.
That was outstanding.
I was in
Yeah.
there once. It was I was covering hockey. It was when Claude Noel found out he was getting fired by the Jets. He was in the bar.
No
drinking.
shit. He
Yeah.
knew he was fired.
Yeah,
Oh,
he knew
wow.
it was his last game. Yeah, they didn't announce it till the next day.
But he had been fired already.
yeah, well, he
Oh,
knew
shit.
because one of the assistant coaches came over and told us.
Damn.
It's a nice spot though.
Yeah, it is a nice spot. It is
Yeah.
a nice spot. Yeah. What else, man? So we got BC coming up again. Early back to backs. Is it different because you didn't play the first game? in regards to any preparation, maybe you don't want to get into too much of that, but
It's nice to have film to look at.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's one of the pros, I guess, is you have 2 games of film to look at instead of just the one, or if you're on a bye week, no film. So
Yeah.
that's nice. Yeah.
and with Buck, like, does that have any impact on anything in terms of what he knows that you like and all that other shit, or not really?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it depends on how they're going about their business over there. I'm sure that he's focused on the offense, but he is the head coach, and I'm sure Benny and Ryan will talk to him about, you know, how closely we worked over the years. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find this part interesting because in the media, we're always talking about, you know, the coaches that left and the coordinators that know the other guy and everything. And still, you got to, here's the play, run the play. He's
I'm
got
with you.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes we stress about stuff that's like we're chasing ghosts sometimes, you know, and but I mean, that's part of it. You know, that's part of the preparation process, whether it's, you know, wanting to change the name of a play call because we're afraid that they're going to know and hear it and then be able to react to it in that, you know, 3 to 4 second time frame. But to your point, you know, usually when we start to fret too much about that, you know, you kind of say to yourself, hey, they still have to stop the play.
It's like,
you know,
paralysis by overanalysis.
Yeah, that happens sometimes in this game.
So then would you have to, because it's Buck, would you, all the play calls would be, because if he would be able to tell the defensive players, if they say X, Y, and Z, it means this.
Hey, careful here.
Typically, I mean, it's in your hurry up stuff.
Cut this out.
Maybe
that's going to be a 12-second podcast.
In your hurry up stuff, obviously, because it is a similar. It's a new system with different terminology.
Yeah.
So a lot of the stuff that we've done in the past are different words, anyways.
Sure.
But as you've interviewed people for many years here, most teams run the same stuff.
Yeah.
They just call it different things. So everything has a new name.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's all I meant was that you can't go to the line of scrimmage and be saying the same thing you did when Buck was running the offense.
No.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Kind of lost in training camp and all this other shit that went on. Like even with your situation there, was that you did sign an extension. So congratulations, obviously.
Thanks.
That's pretty good for everybody, you included, but
it's awesome.
Good for us as well. How did that kind of come about? I mean, you kind of obviously not maybe surprising, but glad it's done with.
Yeah, I mean, very happy to.
I don't think anyone has ever asked you about
to
it.
be here for next season. Yeah, it's been like since this whole ordeal went down, I really haven't talked to anybody. I feel like the entire training camp. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, honestly, you didn't do a whole lot of media. Yeah,
I mean, I feel like I'm such an interesting interviewee.
Yeah,
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
I usually give away so much stuff.
It's riveting stuff. So the extension.
Yeah, the extension. It was. I think my agent reached out to Kyle and talked a little bit about it. And this is a place that I want to be for as long as I continue to play football. So it was an easy decision for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think the discussions back and forth didn't take too long. And again, like something that Nicole and I have talked about, wanted to continue to play. And it's getting tougher with the kids getting older, moving them back and forth like this. But my family loves coming out here.
Yeah.
Like walking around the neighborhoods now, we've been in Bridgewater and different places in Winnipeg, and you always forget that you're here because we're here so much during the 6 months that we are here, the 5-6 months. But it's like, this is like home. It's like home for us.
Yeah.
It really is. Like the kids look at it like, oh, we're just going to our Winnipeg home. And it's like, and it's home.
Yeah.
So a lot of positive feelings about Winnipeg, Manitoba, obviously this building. The nostalgia is great. Like it's so nice to be back, and the kids. It's summertime. They have a great time out here. So
how do you approach this maybe differently than when you're in your mid-20s, right? When you're at this stage of your career, are you thinking?
What were you doing in your mid-20s, Zach, after games and shit like that? Well, how was that going?
That's not the question.
I know.
No, just you have there's a different happiness, but you can also you have a lot of career in your rearview mirror. How do you look ahead? Compared to when you're in your mid-20s starting, what's different about it now? But greater appreciation for everything, all that kind of stuff?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
You try to just like soak it all in every day. All the time you spend, with your teammates, at practice, in the locker room, all those things, it's going to come to an end at some point. And I think as you get closer to whenever that end's going to be, and everybody has a feeling of when that's going to be for everybody. You just appreciate things more. But I think, it's cliche to say, but we should probably we should treat every day like that in our normal lives too. And it's something that, we talk about and, you take for granted. But yeah, it's important.
Do you have so there's guys, it's not too long ago we had to make the final cuts for the season. And I was thinking about some of those guys that, you maybe talk to 2 or 3 of them. I don't know a lot of them, but, they're heading back home and they don't know if they've got another football game in their life and they're 26, 25 and they have to move on.
Yeah.
And to your point about appreciating things, we all do that. Do you have a sympathy for those guys because you haven't had to do that yet? You know what I mean?
There's been many times where I thought I was going to have to do that, and I can remember doing that in the mini camp I was in down south, and I thought it was over.
Yeah.
And I was like fully prepared to move on, like in my head, but it still, when you got that message like, hey, you're cut, it was still like, whoa, you just weren't expecting it, and never thought somebody would say that to you. But I do love what Osh says to the guys usually after like the last preseason game, and he said this before, so I probably he probably wouldn't mind me sharing it, is like he says, don't believe me, like don't take my word for it, like keep trying to
I see
keep trying to play. I don't know if you ever lose that. You'd have to talk to guys who are retired now. I'm not at that point yet, but everybody says like you want to go out on your own terms, but if you love the game, you probably never think it's the right time, right? Because you still, as a competitor, you still think that you could play at a high level and all those things. I think, did you guys see what Flacco said the other day? Joe Flacco. They were interviewing him about Shador in Cleveland and the other young guy that's there, and it was something along the lines of like him being a mentor.
Yeah.
And I thought he answered it perfectly. He was like, hey, listen, like he didn't, say like, it's not my job. He's like, I still think I can play at a high level. So I'd be doing myself a disservice to,
that's an interesting answer.
He's like, I still think I can be the starter. So I'm going to do that. If there's things that I do that they could pick up on, sure. But like my job is not to get those guys ready to play. Like I still think I can play. So that as an older guy now, that's kind of rang home to me.
That's a good way to put it. You're not supposed to be the sensei for somebody like
no.
I
mean, Joe Flacco's played at high level for a long time, and what was it, last year, the year before, he played for the the Browns and ripped off like 8 or 9 wins or whatever it was. So I thought it was a really interesting way to answer it.
Yeah. Well, that just to kind of keep going on that, that's why we've always talked about when we go on the road, those are some of our fun nights, the night before a game, right? Where everybody's together, and that's what you'll never be able to replicate that again. Like, Chris and you guys going out for sushi or getting your 6 meals in.
Right? That's the thing that everybody says. That's what they miss is like the time in the locker room, right? Like
everyone.
Yeah.
But it's also like, you're leaving the other night and there's generally, and almost every time he's there as well, you're going up the stairs to leave from the
After
locker
a game,
room.
you mean.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's a circle of guys sitting around having a beer.
Yep.
That's the type of shit that, as for the players, once it's over, that's never going to happen again.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what's, and it's important to see that.
Yeah. There's a group of us too that, again, like, it's not like we don't think we're done. We don't think that the team will want to move on from us at any point soon, but we have the understanding that you can't do it forever. So it is something that's always in the back of our heads. Like during the offseason, especially, it's like, hey, let's make sure we get our families together as much as possible. Let's make sure we enjoy it. Even though there's going to be ups and downs during the season, which there always are in the CFL, and the ball's not always going to go your way, and you're going to get frustrated at times with whether it's guys in the locker room or butting heads with a coach or just again an official, whatever it is. Like, let's just try to keep the perspective of like, let's make this fun,
big picture.
Big picture.
And it's funny, just going back to your point about the guys that get released at the end of camp.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many situations where a guy gets cut. Just talking with Zach about the cuts on our team as they were happening or afterwards, whatever. I mean, some surprised him, and it's not specific to Zach. The point is, there's some really good players that get released that end up on other teams. And Kenny Lawler was cut.
Yeah.
Right.
By BC.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, it happens. And then they turn into Kenny Lawlers.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. You end up, good teams especially end up having to cut good players.
Yeah.
And that's the shitty part about it.
We had some tough ones this year for sure.
Yeah, when I say you're surprised, I mean it's just like someone's got to go.
I mean, like
it's just like
the receiver spot for us during camp.
Yeah,
Was,
and that's
the
kind of
American spot was just like, man, we have a lot of guys that can play.
Yeah,
we are going to try to do this more often. Hey,
as long as everything's going well.
Well, want to know? Here we go.
No,
right?
let's do it. Yeah.
I mean, this could be fun. We can have a lot of.
we're doing it either way. We're doing it either way, but it's going to go well. I mean, honest to God, I said this last year, but had we had a documentary crew, or like our own documentary crew being our own people.
Yeah, we don't have enough of those guys around.
No. But filming the entire year last year, and then had the last one gone differently, it would have been a really cool thing to watch. From starting where it did to how it ended up.
When was the game in Ottawa last year? It was early, right?
Right?
The overnight.
It was week 2.
Yeah, I remember being in the hotel lobby because we stayed that night and waiting for the bus, and Osh said, "We're going to be okay."
Yeah,
and it went to 0-3 and 0-4, as you guys know. But he, in hindsight, he was right. It was okay.
Yeah, it's such a long season. I mean, that's the thing. It's such a long year.
Yeah, it really is.
And you think about games as much as they are very important, each one of them. You think about a game in June when it's October, and it's like it was like 5 years before.
Right.
So it's
true.
Now they all add up, and they're certainly all important.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, but I mean, that whole saying of this season doesn't start till after Labor Day. I don't really understand that because
it used to have. Wasn't
it because there was a bye during Labor Day too, or something like that?
Well,
the whole league was on a bye.
It used to be that the reason that saying started was that the season would start in July or mid-July.
Yeah, so it'd be 6 games in, right?
Yeah, and then NFL cuts would happen, and a lot of teams, the players didn't wait then.
Yeah.
I got to play. I'm coming up to Canada, and so lots of teams were rebuilding their teams on the fly in September and October, and it wasn't even the halfway part of the season. So that's why that's where that season.
Can you imagine starting season in July still? That would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you're going till.
No, it was no buys though.
No buy.
It was
right,
16, 18 games just crammed into.
So that
you actually had a little bit of a summer.
Hold on, there was no buys.
One buy, and it was during Labor Day, right?
Yeah.
There wasn't around that.
No,
they had one buy in 18 weeks.
Sometimes,
in Toronto, I think
shit.
we were still on the schedule in 2012. It was that. So I remember going home because we had a buy, and we came back and we released our running back. But it was huge news because like you said, the league kind of reset.
Yeah.
And the year I was in Toronto, and we dressed. We started playing Chad Cackert, and he ended up being the Grey Cup MVP.
Yeah.
But we released the leading rusher in the league at the time. I just went a whole different way. But yeah,
who was it? Corey Boyd.
Corey Boyd.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I remember it was weird because the whole league was kind of off.
Yeah.
And then they would always say, I think and Jarius, who's here, our quarterback coach, was the backup on that team. And I remember he'd always say to me, "Man, it don't start till Labor Day anyways, man. We're gonna be good. We're gonna be good."
Yeah.
He was right.
Yeah. Okay, cool, man. Thanks for doing this. We'll
right
do another one next week, and week after that, week after that, week after that. All right, brother.
Sweet.
All right. Thank you.
Right on.